can't hear you, Aaron. You're fucking muted. Anyway, all right. Welcome to Masculine Geek number 165, the Fireside Chats. This is Random Geekery. This was originally going to be Drew's night to DM his campaign, but he is on the road and someone else is not available. Noble is not available as well. Actually, no. Drew has family. Noble's on the road. So there you go. Not that anyone needs to know that, but whatever. So you get us today, and you get Aaron. Look at this. Mr. Clary is here.
Right. Hello.
And Mr. Excitement himself.
Seriously, yeah. We were talking about fireplaces and T-shirts and random shit and fat chicks. But before we get started, you have some T-shirt Geek and Tell to show.
I don't know if it's it's canon, I guess, in the masculine geek world. So TJ Martinelli, as you know, is probably the best impugner and memer out there, where he comes up with some vicious memes, usually at my expense when I never started anything. I don't instigate nothing, but TJ just has some awesome nuclear level memes he comes up with. And a fan of both his and mine, named Noah Acosta, he kind of lurks about. I just met with him in Vegas. He says, "Can you meet me?" I said, "Yeah." And so we went, we had cigars, and he says, "Oh, I got you a gift." So he gave me this thing and he got me the shirt. Would you guys like to see the shirt?
We'd like to see the shirt.
All right, zoom in on me, just because this is pretty cool stuff. All right, so I have to stand up.
TJ, well, you know what the funny thing is? The funny thing is TJ didn't make that.
Who did?
I did.
You did? All right.
Yes.
Well, never
you
mind.
Dumb son of a bitch.
I rewrite everything I said about TJ to Vince.
Jesus Christ. You guys are brutal. Stealing my shit constantly.
All right, you can take it off of me now.
All right, we did.
Anyway, so I thought you guys would like that, and like literally, I got it today, and then I saw you guys like, "Oh, we're doing a Geek and Tell." I'm like, "Oh, I should put on my shirt." So now I can't wear this outside, obviously, but it is opportune that you guys decide to.
It would be funny if you forgot. You fell asleep, you forgot, and you get up in the morning, you go into the post office. Get your mail. All right.
There's a piece of me that wants to do that, just to like what do I care?
All messed up. You've got like your wife has lipstick smeared all over your face.
Yeah, I mean you're in the Dakota, so I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
No, I'm in Vegas now, so
that's true. You're in Vegas.
You're probably fine in Vegas.
Yeah, probably fine in Vegas.
You can probably make some money in Vegas.
Oh hell yeah!
I have a question.
Enough to fly a couple times on Spirit Airlines.
Hey, I haven't been able to fly that much. I'm kind of permanently established now between the two places.
Yeah.
But I'd like to ask you three wise gentlemen something here. Do you guys understand why I have the Northern Command in South Dakota, and then I have a Southern Command in Las Vegas? Can you explain to me why I do that?
We get the weather differences, yes.
Okay, everyone. Okay, apparently no one understands this except you guys, because I've had to explain to fans, even relatives, like first blood relatives.
You're like a snowbird. Like people here in New Jersey in the wintertime go down to Florida, and then when Florida gets kind of cool, they come back to Jersey.
All right, I just want to make sure I wasn't losing my mind, because I'm like, I have to explain this like sometimes again. Right. Well, why do you have a place in South Dakota? I'm like, because in July it's 120 degrees here. Oh, is that why? Yes. And then South Dakota's like, well, what do you do about the snow? I'm like, nothing. Well, I go down to Vegas, and like, you got a place in Vegas? No, I have a place I can stay in Vegas. Oh, I see. Same person. Well, is it going to get cold in South Dakota? It's like Groundhog Day. So I've just kind of given up, but I appreciate you guys letting me know I'm anchored in reality.
You know what that is, though? That's sort of karmic payback, because you ask us the same damn question on a daily basis.
Hey, teacher, are you on Facebook?
Do you have Rob's phone number? I fucking gave you that thing like 9 times.
Who would save Rob's number? Why would
that's
anyone
true.
Save, I only need to call him once. They never plan on calling him again. Oh shit! I gotta call Rob again. Darn it!
Seriously, in Aaron's defense, though, the older I get, the more I'm losing track of who I've said what to whom about either a project I'm working on, a new book, what I'm working on in my house. Because usually, I don't know if it's technology or just age or whatever, but I'm like, okay, I told this guy, but I didn't tell this guy I don't know. I don't know if I told this guy. And so I'm just like, I think it's just you get so much information when you get older, especially now. I just lose track. So I've always have to ask people, did I talk about this with you? Or did I talk about with somebody else?
No, I get it.
There's only one way
to combat that. I'm gonna basically quote James: "Shut the fuck up." So you just don't tell anybody anything.
What works for me.
Yeah, what it may also be, and I hate to play compliments to everyone, but if we had regular 9-to-5 jobs and 9-to-5 lives, like if we were just truly the normie, conforming, inferior types, there would not be new things happening in our life. But TJ, you're up? No, I'm serious. Like TJ, you're up to what? Like your sixth real book now?
Well, no, that's why I laugh, because it's true. I mean, I'll talk to some people and it's been months. Really, nothing has happened in their lives as far as what they're doing. They may have like some minor thing going on, and then they're asking me, what's going on? Well, I'm working on a new book. I'm working on a film script for a book, working on stuff in my house. I'm doing consulting right now for a side gig. I'm now trying to get certified for some personal trainer stuff. Like, yes, I have tons of stuff going on to talk about, and everybody asks me what's going on, and then I tell them, or I'll be hanging out with some guys at the local pub or the distillery, and these people actually know enough about some topics where I can spend an hour and a half talking about something from history. Like one of these guys, he's one of the few guys who knows anything about the history of the siege of Constantinople when the Ottomans took over. So we spent like a half hour talking about the siege. So there's just all this stuff that we can talk about, whereas I can't have that conversation with most people. They're just going to look at me like, what's Constantinople?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Aaron's right. We have a lot of us just have a lot going on.
Well, gosh, if I'm a boomer, what the hell is this guy? He's got a fan running in the background, vertical thing. His nose looks huge. It looks like a dog in the morning putting its face right up to me. Wow. There we go. Yeah, exactly.
It's the Blair Witch Project down in Florida. What's up, Nick?
Fuck you guys.
We're talking about it won't pertain to you. We're talking about how we have a lot of things going on in our lives that people don't pay attention to.
It won't pertain to you.
Yeah, it won't pertain to you. So that's
oh shit. Well, Nick's
got a lot going on. Today I bought a cup. Don't tell me I ain't got shit going on.
Another Dick Water mug?
That's right. I have another Dick Water
cup. Nice.
Yeah, but I would say that you could probably say that about most geeks. I presume we're all confirmed bachelors here. No one's married?
No, not currently.
Yeah, and happening. I would also say, if you insist on being a masculine geek and you're not married, you are going to engage in a ton of different hobbies, activities, and maybe buying a cup.
Correct.
That there is you're probably doing 6 to 7 times the amount of things the average person does in their life. So I can see where people just
also
like pay attention.
Yes.
Hey Nick, you see this great the shirt? I gotta show you my shirt. He hasn't seen it yet. All right, take a look at this.
At least he's owning it.
That's pretty good.
Pretty cool.
Where do I get a shirt like that?
There's one and
interwebs.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah. What's his name?
Well, Aaron, also, I'll make another observation. When people keep asking you about something and it doesn't occur to them, I've encountered that too, where I feel like I have to explain what I consider to be the most basic form of understanding of human knowledge, where I don't understand how people can't put 2 and 2 together, but it's a phenomenon. I mean, where people don't they can't see the logical extension of something.
Right, they can't deduce. No, I've gone through, and I don't know if it's just because I'm more impatient than I was before, or I never picked up on it before.
What?
Well, before, I mean, I've only gotten worse, but when I have to handhold someone to what I thought in my 20s was an obvious conclusion, and I've never had to do this mental hand-holding. Well, why would we go there? Because you bleep and bleep. I said postulate 1, postulate 2, conclusion 3. That's why we got to go down that road. Oh, and I'm like, what? I never had this trouble when I was 24. Like people, they could read you, they could pick up it's like, well, we got to, and there'd just be grunts in the conversation because people were processing and figuring out and deducing. Oh yeah, we got to go down 160. But now it's maddening, actually, quite maddening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You see that in organizations a lot. The people who, especially if you have older guys in an organization that never advance very far, those are almost always the guys who are like, they're distracted by shiny metal objects, but they can't extrapolate, the theory from the practice and apply it universally and shit like that. And I see that all the time.
Well, I'll give an example of that. Speaking of boomers, every boomer told their kid to go to college and get a degree. Didn't matter what degree. And now we have this huge shortage of tradesmen, plumbers, electricians, and all that stuff. And I was explaining to one of these boomers recently. He's like, well, I don't understand why it's so hard to get a hold of a plumber or all this other stuff. And I go, because nobody told their kid to go learn that. He goes, well, I don't know. I'm like, really? Really? You think that you and everybody else telling their son to go get a communications degree or a business major has no effect? Like, somebody's got to go do these jobs, and they go, well, I don't know about that.
And it's also because they don't, their parents don't make them go get jobs when they're teenagers, because down here in the South, every one of my buddies I played football with on summers when school was out, everybody had a job. Most people had jobs on construction sites or at some sort of trade. Yeah, there were a few guys who were lifeguards and shit like that, but there were a lot more dudes out there who were in manual labor jobs over the summer, learning skills and learning shit.
Well, there's a line in the Breakfast Club where they're all sitting around and stuff. They're talking, and the geek, blew up his lamp with a flare gun, and because he took a vocational class because he thought it would be an easy A to pad out his his 4.0 GPA, and Bender, the rough kid in the group, is like, you thought it would be easy, and it's like, yeah, have you seen the people in those classes? And and he's like, the smart kid's like, well, where would you be without math? And the Judd Nelson character's like, where would you be without light? And but I mean, even when I was in high school, my high school was a really large high school. It was, I think at the time, it was like the second largest in the state and in the top 10 largest high schools in the nation. So it had a huge and it was only a 3-year high school because all of the freshman classes were at the junior highs at the time. And but it had a huge vocational program. We had an aerospace school, ground school for aviation technology.
No kidding.
Heating and air, construction, everything like that. So almost all the guys, whether you were in marching band, whether you were in speech and debate, whatever, you still took some kind of vocational class, even if it was like, introduction to building trades or something like that, because it was just natural. As a guy, you wanted to know, how to do some basic stuff, how you can run a real simple wire or put in a new light switch at your apartment or whatever. And that was just the lower level stuff. But you could get stuff that you could, after graduating from high school, you could have gotten on as an apprentice or gotten into some kind of trade school or something really, really easily, and hit the ground running with a job right out of high school. And this is, I was class of 87, so. But yeah, the guys in trades were still kind of looked down then, even though most guys took something, whether they were in the smart kids in ROTC and band, whatever. It's like
auto shop was always cool. They were always working on a cool project.
Oh yeah, and guys took auto shop just so they could bring their own cars in and work on them during the day. And who didn't want? And plus, we had cool cars then. My first car was a 1970 Pontiac Firebird.
Nice.
So,
Oh my God! Did you save it or no?
unfortunately, no.
Ran that shit into the ground.
I did. I absolutely did. I mean, it was
Oil?
huge.
What's oil?
Yeah.
I got so right off the state highway, a couple miles down the road, there's an old classic Chevy. It looks like it's not a coupe, but it looks really cool. I'd probably change the color. I haven't bought it, but I'm just sitting there thinking, I got the perfect garage to store it in and work on it over time.
Well, you've already made up your mind.
I'll say what?
You've already made up your mind. What's stopping you?
Well, I'm probably going to call him up tomorrow.
We ain't got no booze.
I'm going to probably call him up tomorrow and say, what type of Chevy is it? What's the year? What's wrong with it?
The miles and everything. With the original engine. It could be a rebuilt engine. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, based on that, I might say, I'll take it off your hands because it's been there for, I'd say, a week or so. I'd say I'll take it off your hands, but maybe for 2,000.
What year and model was this, TJ?
I don't know what year and model, but it's a what's it called? Not a 2-seater, it's a 4-seater. So it's got a back seat. But it looks a little bit like the Ford 1941 Ford Coupe, which is my.
Oh, it's an old school, like old.
It's an old school, yeah. It's like it's a car that I would take to a what do you call it?
Parade.
A classic car show.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, and I've got the drive down under the house garage it's the 30s house. So there's a perfect place for me to work on it.
Wow, did we just lose like 10 people watching?
No, Nick just muted his mic, and we didn't have.
I muted his mic because I'm hearing this phone noise in the back.
Well, you can mute it again. You keep muting it for half a second. The whole idea is to mute him for more than half a second.
There you go. The idea. It sounds like he's talking about one of those fucking Nautilus shells.
So
I haven't been saying anything.
There we go. The Breakfast Club. Are you muting me?
No.
Oh, all right. Anyway, that Breakfast Club.
Now I am.
Well, you just didn't the Breakfast Club just suck? Like, I remember watching it obviously as a younger man, but I'm like, this is like a bunch of tampons, like in a John Hughes film.
It had its moments. I mean, it had its moments. I mean, it wasn't the best.
It was dumb.
But it had its moments. It had some interesting little interactions between the characters. But overall,
it was the beginning of that overly introspective crap bullshit. Here are my feelings.
Well, wasn't that a John Hughes film?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he went on to do great work. Uncle Buck, Dirty Ron, not Dirty Ron.
His wife probably instigated him to do that, or some woman.
Do you think so? Or
probably. There's probably some woman in the background in some way, shape, or form.
Probably had. I wonder if she had the script. I'll let you have access to my hoo-ha.
She probably wrote it.
Yeah, she wrote the script. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Also, why can't I remember the other ones? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
When he wrote that, and then you look at
Breakfast. Funny as fuck.
Yeah, then you look at Breakfast Club. I'm like, well, you start with cancer and just get
that
better.
That was a reason to play really cool 80s music. That was about it.
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club,
I
mean, that was definitely more. What he was known for was comedy. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is the man got his writing start at National Lampoon, back when National Lampoon was still, well, in existence, but also still, pretty cool and pretty out there as far as comedy goes. And I mean, I think Vacation. What became National Lampoon's Vacation was based on his story, which he published in an issue of National Lampoon, based on his own experiences as a child on a family vacation.
Interesting.
And it just kind of expanded from there. So, but I think the Breakfast Club was him trying to cast somewhat of a serious light on stuff about kids of that time, I guess. But
well, it was kind of an homage to his growing up experience, because I believe that school where they shot it was the high school he went to.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
So I
Well,
think-
that kind of makes
so I
makes
think-
sense then. Yeah.
I think there was a lot of nostalgic sentimental bullshit in that.
There's a lot of
for
maudlin
him.
crap going into that script.
I mean, it wasn't, it's like you said, it wasn't bad. It's just like,
No,
It
the,
wasn't
the, act,
everybody.
the acting was stellar, but I mean the script itself is like, whatever, you know.
Yeah, then he hits one out of the park, same kind of genre, but it's actually enjoyable. Doesn't want to make you slice your wrists, and that was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is just phenomenal. I mean, that's one of the
Yeah.
top 10 movies out there.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off is actually a really great sociological film to watch regarding what it was like growing up in the 80s. Based on and you guys grew up then, I didn't, but it seemed like parents were very much just detached and not really heavily involved in they were more like, I don't want to say the word laid back, but they just
Well, no, they weren't detached. They
weren't there.
They were. My parents were there, but they realized that there's an ROI on their children's safety, and there's a certain amount of risk that's inherent in being a child. And a lot of the parents of that generation were just they came from parents that were not there or didn't give a shit or let them do whatever they wanted.
Well, also, we, in the 80s, we were, less than 80 years out of, kids being coal miners. So whatever we had to endure in the 80s, I don't think anybody sat down and thought about it. It was just like, until the recent past, there wasn't this crazy obsession over, coddling their kids every day and trying to engineer their childhood the way that.
Well, it also goes hand in hand with the litigious aspect of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
That started late 80s, early 90s, where the cup is hot. No one told me, so I'm going to sue everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Your kid did so and so on my land when I or something happened and you didn't shovel the snow or some shit and the kid got hurt and wasn't wearing a helmet.
Well,
okay, well I'm going to sue you now.
And also, going from the late 70s into the 80s, everybody was getting divorced. Everybody was getting divorced and going to key parties, and mothers were flooding into the workplace. So a lot of the reason that kids weren't looked after is because parents were busy. They were busy out looking for new spouses, or busy getting laid, or busy getting jobs, and they just weren't around that much. And that's
but that
was just the economic reality.
Ferris Bueller's, I don't think Ferris Bueller had any of that. That has nothing to do. Ferris Bueller was a nuclear family. They were both highly successful. Both the kids were adults.
Yeah.
I mean, they were driving. So what I think Ferris Bueller, and this is why I love it so much, is it was Calvin and Hobbes. It was South Park. It's the kids versus it's the kids versus the adults. And it shows you that the adults, and maybe it's because I have such a visceral hatred for school, but he shows you how stupid school really was and how stupid school and authority was. He even runs loops around his parents. And it's kind of like, hey, you don't have to, and I wish I read into it a little bit more, but I was like 12 or 13 when it came out, where it's like, hey, they're trying, not that John Hughes is trying to warn you, but pointing out how stupid school is and how parents and teachers are not always right. And if they are right, you can still out strategize them. I think that was, look how stupid Principal Rooney was. I think that was kind of the story.
Well, and the thing is,
there's got to be more to it than that, though. Still, because I skipped school a lot and I got caught a lot. I didn't get caught every time, but when I pulled shit in high school, maybe I'm just a lot dumber than Ferris, but. I skipped school a lot. I faked notes. I did all kind. We had a whole network set up, and we'd still get caught. 1 out of 3 times because, everybody is not as stupid as they make it out in the film. But I think that to me, a good point you're making is that it was about us versus them, and it was about that's what you're supposed to be doing at that age is basically, breaking up and saying, fuck you.
Yeah.
It was also about the Pontiac Fiero. That was the real, the funny. We all had Fieros, TJ, James, and TJ. If you were a kid of the '80s, Ronald Reagan passed the Fiero law, and every one of us got a Fiero. It was great. The '80s were
showed up
wonderful.
in your driveway one morning.
You just show up, 16.
Government agents.
Signed.
Government agents dropped it off with Ronald Reagan on the side.
Yeah. He signed it. Yes, you're very excited.
Ray
as long
Gun
as you
Ronnie.
didn't do drugs. If you didn't do drugs, you got a Fiero. That's what it was.
And great cars. That was one of the things that I'm wondering how kids today, if they were going to watch American Graffiti, I don't know how they would respond, because it's essentially a film about a bunch of high schoolers who are about to go to college, basically just driving around town in these awesome hot rods and classic cars, really just not having a care in the world, and being able to do pretty much whatever they want. And
see that
that was essentially
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to. But that was essentially my high school experience in the '80s was American Graffiti. It was way more that than it was Ferris Bueller.
Yeah. So how are kids who, we're all bad. I mean, you got kids. I don't have kids. Not my problem. Not my people, yet. But it's just, I'm now, in workplaces where I'm around people who are under the age of 20. So I'm just asking them about what life is like for them, and then kind of sharing what my high school experience was. And it's almost like a completely different historical era. You're like somebody from a time machine.
Well, I always laughed that it was such a big deal that Ferris Bueller missed 9 days of high school, and I think I had 9 absences from high school by my second week of high school, maybe the third. But I had effectively turned my senior year of high school into a correspondence course, where I would show up 1, maybe 2 days a week, take all my tests, turn in homework, get new homework, and then leave again. And when I was there, I would spend 2 or 3 periods in the lunchroom having lunch with various people, and then hiding out somewhere else in the school, like in the library or a bathroom or whatever, and then taking off and heading home, or heading to a job, or heading somewhere where there's something really cool going on. But I'd gotten away with that for almost the entirety of the senior year. I was probably down to the last 2 or 3 months before anyone caught on to what I was doing. And it caused I got called down to the Dean of Students office, and they had like 3 or 4 stapled 3x5 cards with little date stamps about this big, of all the days missing. And these cards were just filled, and they were in shock because they don't know how it was I was able to get away with it without someone raising a red flag.
Well,
and it was so easy because I wasn't a problem.
Teachers are dumb.
I was reasonably intelligent, and I didn't cause problems. And that's interesting.
Exponential Decay just made a photo of Aaron with ones and zeros and shit, I think.
Yeah.
Why do I have a fro?
It's your hat.
And why do I look like what? I don't have. Okay, that is not me. That's like a Latino Hispanic guy with a goatee.
That what Robert said reminds me of.
Took that shit out by the time I got into high school. Like, there's teachers in every single hallway, multiple teachers, and pretty much every single major intersection, just constantly looking out. Didn't have as many in the private school I was in, but of course my graduating class was 14 people.
What private school did you go to?
St. Hayes.
Yeah, this is fine. It's TKCS up in Cherry Hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was at the Branch Davidian compound. That sounds
no, it would have been better if it was.
I got to take back what I just actually said. I think Clary's right, because what Robert said reminded me of the time I was a sophomore and I skipped French class for 3.5 weeks, and I just went to my teacher one day and I said, "Oh, hey, I'm dropping this class," and she said, "Okay." And then I just quit going, and I just left campus that period, went and hung out at Burger King and smoked pot and did shit like that. Nice. And nobody caught on for like 3.5 weeks. And then finally, I think I just screwed up. I was out I was out walking around in the neighborhood where our high school was, and the one of my football coaches who was out teaching driver's ed at the time just came driving by and saw me hanging out on the corner, and brought me in, and
the
then
truancy detective.
Found out about it. Yeah. So I just told him that, and nobody.
The one thing teachers are good for is organizing around being retarded.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think the thing
in order to clamp down on students my age, it was fairly. You can't depend on them for everything else, but for that alone, you could.
Well, I mean, the whole point of that shit is when that's about the age when you start realizing that your parents and your teachers and everybody who you revered and looked up to, they're just fucked up human beings who didn't know anymore. Really didn't know.
Hang on, wait a minute. Hang on. You actually looked up and revered your teachers and parents? It's a deadly question. Like at 3 years old, I'm like, I got to figure out a game plan myself. Now, maybe that's very extreme in my case, but when I got to school, I mean, like, how could I put this without getting anyone in trouble? I was starting to come along to the realization this was a prison. These people were vile, evil people, and I would have to get a little Colorado action. I'm like, I could see that happening. I could totally understand that.
But did you? Not all of us went to school on Epstein Island, Clary.
It was almost. But I'm trying to. Generally speaking, I've never looked up to teachers. I literally, as Calvin, always viewed them as prison guards, and they were not friendly. They were not on our team. They did not care about us. And only as I've gotten older do I hate them more and more. But as a young kid, I mean, what percentage of young kids even respected their teachers back? I don't know, say the 5th grade.
Yeah,
James, I did.
Hang on, I'm interrupting you because I can. James, go ahead and read that for us. Thank you for the super chat.
BJ Tucker for $5 says, bro, that Zentradi, I don't know how to pronounce that. Cover art in your story was
correctly.
Choice, fire, emoji, etc. Was that a player's guide?
It was part of the Robotech role-playing game, and Palladium Books put that out in the 80s. Yes.
Right.
Not mine, although I do have some Robotech books. That I did not have that one, but I thought that was cool to share. So thank you, James, and continue, Nick and Aaron.
I can't remember having skeptical thoughts for the most part about teachers and shit till I was around 12, 13. So
yeah, it was about
Claire was far ahead of me.
It was about junior high for me, but my grade school experience was fairly pleasant. They pulled me aside for a lot of different special projects and stuff like that, and so the principal of my elementary school knew the names of every student there, and so there were lots of really kind of cool moments. So I was, I guess, a fairly big fish at my elementary school, but junior high was very, very different. Well, I mean, I was in freshman lit class or some kind of freshman English class, but one of the assignments we had to pick a historic or famous person and write a report on this person, and then give a speech about them. So I had picked Julius Caesar as the person I was going to write about and give my speech. And my teacher pulled me aside in the library
and touched you
to ask. No, yeah, she was kind of cute, but
touched your sunset area.
Yeah, different. This wasn't a Dear Penthouse moment. But anyway, she pulled me aside and she's like, I'm not sure that would be an appropriate topic to do your paper and speech on. And I'm like, why is that? And it's like, well, you need to pick, a real person. And I'm like, Julius Caesar was a very real person. And she looked at me, and he's from a Shakespearean play. Yes, based on a real person. Several people in that play are real people. In fact, most of them are. And she just looked at me completely bewildered. This is a woman who had a degree to teach junior high or high school level English.
Mm-hmm.
And she had no clue that Julius Caesar was a real person and not a fictional character from a Shakespeare play.
Jesus.
So that,
That's surprising.
that was my competition in junior high. So is it any, when I get to high school where I'm in a class of, 1 out of 900 students in my class, that I'm like, this crap is just that. And plus, before my senior year of high school, I'd already gone to basic training in the Army. I'd already enlisted, gone to basic training, been released to finish out my high school before going back into the service. So, after going through Army basic training in 1984, 85, that was there were no timeouts because basic training's getting too real. And I need to get away from the drill sergeant for a moment, or touchy-feely, or how do you identify, or any of that other kind of crap. This was very much military buildup, Cold War, us against the Russians. You have to be tough. You have to be a fighter. You have to go to, Europe and defend Europe when it's invaded by Russia. And, very, very different mindset. Coming back to the civilian real world and dealing with high school stuff after that,
that must have been maddening.
Oh, it absolutely was. So and one of my, I think it's my, because I enlisted when I was 17, so I'd still have 2 years of high school left. So it was strange and difficult, but this was how they did things back then. But in my junior year, my yearbook photo, I'm wearing like a black t-shirt with a skull and crossbones and like death before dishonor. My head's shaved because I literally just came back from basic training and had no idea they were taking pictures to look halfway presentable. So I completely look like, what the left has called Trump supporters the last 4 or 5 years. So it's, but yeah,
James,
it was just
you
a
want to read
really
this one
different
out?
time.
This one's
All right,
for
this is BJ Tucker 5 again. He says, Cappy, my mom was a South Dakota, and I want to bring my 2 sons back up there. Game for a meetup. Perkins on me.
Is his mom hot? That's why if his mom is
hot.
Email me. 2022, I'm doing very few meetups. I'm not doing any traveling. But if you are in my neighborhood, and Perkins, well, yeah, you just sweeten the pot there. Yep.
Yikes.
Like grandparents at Spearfish. Okay, is your grandma hot? Okay, we got like.
Is that more your speed, Aaron?
I know where the Perkins is because there's only one in Spearfish, and that's the good Perkins. That's where they got good employees. Yep, they got that. Chocolate chip pancakes, darn right. I've eaten many times there before I go up on Highway 14.
Is that where you get the coupons you send to Vince and everybody?
No, I had to get those.
Well, and you know what the best part about those were? They were fucking expired.
Yeah.
Fucking dickhead.
Let me ask you this. Vince, have you ever given me coupons for anything?
No, but I picked you up to the airport and drove in your ass around. You fucking.
You did do that. Yeah,
you did do that.
You big fucking homo.
I do owe you greatly for that. Yes.
Yeah, next time you should send Clary a coupon for 1 free airport pickup.
Right, and have it be expired.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to hear a really dickish move on my part?
You mean another dickish move?
Would you like to hear the latest dickish move on my part?
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
So I don't know if you guys remember DT and the Black Brigade.
I've heard the name, but I don't really know too much about it.
Well, he was my one friend out in South Dakota, and he wouldn't give me a ride to the airport. And so I said, what if I get you 1,000 subscribers? Because he had this podcast. We had been doing it for like 7 years, and he couldn't get 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, shit.
And he's like, there's no way you could get it to me because
even we did that.
Yeah. So I got him to 1,000 subscribers. He was all shy and been like, oh, let's not talk about that. So then I just, thinking like maybe you're my friend. I need to go to the airport again. And then he's like, no, I'm not going to allow that. I'm like, okay, cool, fine. So I just like, I'm just like, well, you're not a friend. You're really not, because if you can't drop me off at the airport or pick me up or whatever, or get
if you can't let me sleep for free on your couch, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, you are. Like, really? Like, come on. Like, if any one of you guys, hey, I'm coming through town. Like, here's the couch. Take a shower. Here's a towel. Make coffee for you.
No,
absolutely.
yeah, I know,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, it's just like a bro code, and I'm like, oh fuck this shit. So I set up a clips channel because to target the younger audience, you can't have a 5-hour podcast. You got to have short, punchy. So a lot of people are doing that. And in 25 days, I got 1,000 subscribers. So I did a video. I'm like, hey, 25 days, I got 1,000 subscribers. I know this one asshole, 7 years, and my help. And then he stopped doing the podcast. So it was kind of funny. All that work and effort, like literally part-time work.
That was a complete dickish move. I like it.
It was a dick move. Yeah. I just want like, hey, 1,000 subscribers, just like that. Hey, Joe, it's a snap. $15 million.
Just like that. Maybe.
Hey, you got, can I just some Geek and Tell?
Sure.
All right. I'll show it right here.
Is that your dildo?
No, this is my Nick impersonation. Can you hear that?
What the fuck is that thing?
It's a tower fan.
Yeah.
Can you hear that? I don't know if you can hear that.
We can hear it now.
Your actual tower fan is quieter than
Hang on.
what Nick has going on in the background.
I got a cup and I'm in Florida. Where am I?
All right. So first of all, I'm at my girlfriend's place. She's got a fan running. What can I do?
That's true. You can turn that shit off.
Yes.
Mute the button or turn the fan off. I'm no scientist, but
it's an air purifier.
Well, you are in the house, so I guess it's
exactly.
Hey, like alligators farting outside or something. What?
Second, there's all kinds of shit going on around here, man. And then the second thing is
armadillos are humping.
Vince sent me Vince has talked to me in this exact configuration many times, and he sent me the link. So
yeah,
I'm here to serve.
It's not. I will say this, not for nothing. It's your internet connection is better when you're sitting at home.
Mm-hmm.
So
that can't be true since I got that fiber gigabit.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, let's put it this way: your phone is better than it was. Correct? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, minus the air purifier.
Well, I'll be down in Florida for another week, and I'm wrapping up my Florida early spring tour and
your binge
going home. Yeah, it'll be 4 weeks.
Where is home?
South Alabama.
Oh, okay. So you're not really going north; you're just going left.
Yeah, I'm going.
Much. Yeah. You close to the Panhandle?
You mean when I'm at home?
Yeah.
A couple hours away.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. What is Alabama known for? I mean, I've driven through it. That Mississippi.
Guys who are their own fathers.
Yeah, but
what? And inbreeding.
There's a Mobile, Alabama. That's got a shipping port, shipping docks. And then what? Montgomery, Alabama.
Mobile's got a pretty big port, a very busy port. Montgomery has a history of racism. Birmingham has.
Okay, all right. Aside from that, what is their gross municipal product aside from racism?
well, what I was
besides lynchings and mobs.
What I was getting to is that Huntsville is the technology hub because that's where NASA is, and there's a huge, what most people don't know is most of the artillery that the Army adopts is tested in Huntsville, and so there's a huge military base there, and there are all these mountains that kind of ring the city, and one of those
Alabama
bases, yeah. Well, not mountains compared to what you think about mountains. Mountains compared to, foothills of the Appalachians kind of thing.
Mountains compared to the swamps.
Right. So, it's 1 foot above sea level. That's a mountain here.
There you go.
So but they actually, those mountains are where the military base is, where they're constantly firing rockets into those mountains, testing them. And so when I grew up, I grew up in the 70s, early 80s down there, and that's what we heard all day long. We're just explosion after explosion.
Oh yeah, look at this.
Testing this shit.
That you're right at the tail end of the Appalachian Mountains. Those are mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
So there's a nice little, it's not like, it's not even as, it's not the Smokies, it's certainly not the Rockies, but it's enough of an incline to where you can get a decent workout hiking.
Yeah. And isn't Fort Rucker down there, which is where
Fort
the
Rucker
Army has
down? Yeah, that's in the southern part of the state.
Yeah, that's where the Army has its flight school. So I would have gone, had I not destroyed my knee and passed my flight physical. That's where I would have gone for warrant officer flight school to fly Cobras.
Yeah. But we have Alabama's got a huge timber industry, paper mills everywhere, that kind of shit. I mean, there's fucking chicken farms. You get outside of the city, there's chicken farms everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Tyson gets their chicken from a lot of our farms.
Yeah, a lot of fat people down there.
A whole lot.
Yeah.
Diabetes is an exploding industry.
Hang on, I wonder what fattest states in the U.S. It's always one of them southern states.
There's a lot of fried chicken and biscuits and gravy and shit.
Well, plus in the poor counties, people don't. There's just if you go to the poor counties that kind of border West Alabama along the Mississippi border, there's just not shit there. There's nothing there at all.
Nothing to do.
Yeah, your third place, 39% obesity adult rate.
What's the number one state for fatness?
Number one is Mississippi. Take a wild guess what number two is.
New Jersey.
Mm-mm.
Arkansas.
Nope.
Wisconsin.
West Virginia.
West Virginia, Fat Mountain Mama.
I'm doing a fitness certification. They were going through the obesity rate starting in 1986, and it was just crazy how some states weren't even reporting it because it just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
If there was no data to report because there was we're talking below 5% obesity, and then it just exploded, and it was exploding among children and adults.
Well, you guys
look at those videos from like the 1980s of like kids in high school and stuff like that. There was maybe one fat kid in the class.
Yeah. There was the fat
maybe
guy.
Two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
fat guy and the fat girl, and they went to the prom.
And just for the brief time I worked as a substitute teacher at my old high school in
Aaron?
the 2000s, it was like half the student body, it seemed like, was overweight. It was just absolutely amazing.
Did you guys hear about that fat professor, like a literal fat activist professor of fat studies? She died at like 32.
How did we not?
Cardiac arrest.
You tweeted that shit out for days.
Yeah, it's great. It's funny.
You're like I'm tired of seeing this shit. I have to mute your ass.
Well, then there was another gal, I guess, in Minnesota. Same thing happened. She died at 49, but she had a real job. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Well, that is kind of ironic. A fat activist.
Well,
I'm probably preaching, body positivity.
What are we? We're gonna come up. We're gonna see it in our lifetime because this idea of fat acceptance and fat positivity, and let's just be disgusting and gross, like that's very new, relatively new. Say the past 5 years, maybe a decade at most, if you go back to the original pioneers. But we're going to see it, I say, in the next 10 years when these people start dying because of cardiac arrest and whatever else. Stroke.
I'm strangely okay with that.
Yeah, no, I'm all right with it too because of the hypocrisy. But it's going to happen probably by the time TJ's in his early 40s. I'm in my mid 50s, and Nick is almost dead. So it's coming up pretty soon.
Nick is almost dead.
The way I've been drinking this last 3 weeks, I'm almost dead now.
Yeah, some of the texts we've been getting, like, is this Nick? What the fuck is this?
My liver just filed for emancipation.
It should. It needs respite from the rest of your fucking body.
It needs to secede from your body.
If you think about it, if you think about it, call my liver Fort Sumter.
That's right.
The
Oh,
you know the
say,
you know if you think
I'll
back
drink
in the
to that,
80s,
Nick.
if you think back in the 80s, we spent all our time running around riding bikes. Everybody played sports. We all hunted and fished. We all did all you know, we were just active constantly. And you know, that ended up changing in a big way.
Yeah. Well, it's predominantly a United States Canada thing because I'm still on OkCupid. I still fuck around on there and source girls from OkCupid.
Oh my God! Whoa!
Hang on. Let me get to the point. You'll appreciate this. The regular recommended my area kind of thing. I would say about 80% of them are mildly to hugely fat. Now, there's at the top there are different tabs, and if you click the international one, the ones that you match up with, not one of them is fat. You just see the difference just in that little small sampling size.
I didn't see any obese people when I was in France. Now, granted that you'd see the occasional old guy with just a little bit of a mild gut here, but
a little bit of a paunch. Yeah,
I saw one guy at a Fred Meyer nearby, and he was probably the biggest. And when I say big, I mean like fat bastard type big. Like, fat bastard is skinny by the standards of today. Where he had to be on one of those little carts, you know, to drive around the store. I thought he was going to break the thing. I thought it was going to just collapse. And you always wonder, just how did you get to this point in your life? Like what? It's really.
There was somebody shared a post on Twitter today about this chick who had this big long thread about how her family was getting ready to go to Disney World and her dad couldn't come because he was
only 55 years old and his knees couldn't take it.
His knees couldn't take it because he's been overweight all his life, and he's still overweight, and his joints are worn out and everything else. And I made fun of that to no end because I'm 55, and you know, to think of being in that situation at 55 just seems ridiculous. Right. And the funny thing about it was she went through this whole big sob story, and then at the very end of it, there was a pitch to subscribe to her newsletter. Yeah. So I was making fun of her, going like, "Hey, look at my dad. He's an old fat bastard, and I'm sad he won't be with us much longer. But hey, subscribe to my newsletter."
Well, hell, I can still get around, and I destroyed my knees in the military. So I mean, both of them sound like Rice Krispies when I bend them. But
you're not a fat fuck.
You guys want to hear
a
funny
still
story?
Afford to lose 20, 30 pounds, but I mean, yeah, it's just different.
No.
What's your?
You guys want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
Okay, so I did a podcast earlier today. You guys should start a podcast. You guys like it.
We should. It seems to be.
I should start a podcast. I hear people will listen to it.
They will, but you know.
Who was that? The big giant head? What the fuck was that?
Yeah, big giant head, right? Max Headroom.
So this was from my podcast today where I talked about the two fat girls who died because of COVID. This guy writes, "My wife's single 375-pound sister-in-law, we'll call her Debbie, reflects everything you are saying. I only see her at Christmas and Thanksgiving, thank God. She cannot negotiate the steps in the front of my house. At these times, the protocol has been to drive her into my garage on the basement level of my house, let her struggle out of my car, and then plop herself onto the electronic chair elevator. My chair elevator was installed by a prior elderly owner of my house and is rated for 350 pounds. Debbie is always on a diet, and at times the stair chair has gotten to the top, carrying her fat, bloated carcass without incident. However, if she has fallen off the diet wagon, the stair chair will put her out and flip the breaker from the strain. One time it was literally smoking. I had to hit it with the fire extinguisher. Total fiasco. On top of this, she plays this act that she is not hungry and eats only a little Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. Then she insists that we send her home with huge amounts of leftovers, which I know she pigs out on when she gets home by herself. I like that particular scene in the story because she's just debauched and then she cries and disgusted with herself at the end.
After vomiting on herself from her escapades.
Right. And it's Christmas night and she's alone. That's what I get most out of this.
Wow,
that's where my heart is filled with joy.
You're a mean
she's
one.
Got a cat
Mr.
somewhere on
Grinch.
her underwear.
We'll get to the cats. There's cats. Debbie recently retired and lives with her 3 crazy cats. She has never been out on a date in her life and therefore attracts that her life has been sexless. My wife recently got roped into taking Debbie to a foreign place for a retirement celebration, but Debbie was too fat to get in and out of the cars and even took a couple headers into the pavement. I know it's just horrible. It's not my life. And she votes Democrats, I'm sure. She had to buy 2 seats on the plane because one is not enough to accommodate her huge ass. My wife said she breathes like a steam engine after 20 steps and could go nowhere on the place. So the trip was a bust. Of course, Debbie refused to go to the pool or ocean due to her blubbery body. When my wife returned home, she says, never again will I be taking Debbie on another trip. And I thought that was a very heartwarming story for those of us who can set the freaking ho-ho down.
Oh my god.
That is a
The dudes in that house are every holiday at Thanksgiving, the dudes in that house are doing a secret pool on how far up the steps that chair is going to get before it gives out.
Isn't there like a Price is Right game?
Hands during the Christmas
there is.
The price, like the hiker, the alpine hiker.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He goes up and he falls over. Yeah, they get
the Alpine Weezer.
Yeah.
Oh
where TJ used to live. Everyone yodeled over in Leavenworth.
What about it?
I'm just saying everyone was yodeling in Leavenworth when I was there. Lots of yodeling.
If
Is
only
that code
was
for something?
Yeah, they were singing in German. It wasn't, but I think if I translated it, it's a don't ride a motorcycle without a motorcycle jacket. Don't ride a motorcycle without the motorcycle. But it was holy doody, holy doody, holy doody, ah,
That one photo you posted of the dude like 20 feet in the air and the motorcycle about 20 feet below him.
Yeah, losing the wheels.
Yeah, just like, TJ, come back. How's your arm, by the way, TJ? Does that bother you?
No, it's fully recovered, so I don't have any problems when I'm in the weight room.
Oh, that's
awesome.
Good. That was my next question. If it bothered you when you're lifting weights.
Aaron, you know who Dick Masterson is, right?
Yeah, of course. I listen to him regularly.
Okay, how have you been liking Fat Watch?
I stopped listening. Yeah, I haven't. I like I've heard 2 episodes of it. Yeah, Fat Watch. Explain it to him.
Yeah, what is that?
Fat Watch is where, as opposed to the pejorative Fat Watch, is a segment of Dick Masterson's show where they'll bring in somebody like Tess Holliday, a fitness activist who happens to be 500 pounds, give or take 25. And they just riff on them for approximately half an hour. They pick a random citizen from New Jersey, I can only assume,
That's
and
funny.
just tear them apart for about a half hour. It's absolutely delicious.
And do they get paid for this, or is it like they don't know that's happening to them?
No, Dick Masterson definitely gets paid for this.
No.
I might see him because I might go. Ethan Ralph is doing a show on the 2nd of April in Dallas. And Dick's going to be there, so I might meet him there. But
wow, cool. Tell that dickhead to read one of my books.
Okay, right. I'll read it to him. How about that?
You guys would like that show. It is a really good show. And what's his co-host? James? Sean. Sean is brilliant. Sean is like, without Sean, Dick would be nothing. But yeah, Sean, the audio engineer, is very deep and philosophical, very intelligent. But it's like Rob and Jack. Like they're just a good combination, a very good pairing.
Yeah, the way they riff off each other is fantastic. It's not every Tuesday morning. It's the highlight of my day.
Do you? One of my favorite segments of the Dick Masterson show is war dates. Do you know where they ask the war dates of women?
Yes.
Oh,
Jesus. They haven't brought that on in ages. It's been
okay. Here's a trick for all of you guys to do because it's masculine. I'll try it with Vince. Okay, Vince. All you gotta do is give me roughly the years these wars happened. Okay, the Revolutionary War.
We all know when that happened.
Yeah, when did it happen? You gotta tell me the dates.
Let's say the let's go stupid and go the mid 1700s.
1770. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. TJ, when did World War I happen?
World War I happened, started in 1914 and ended in 1918.
Okay. Nick, when did Spanish-American War?
Beat the fuck out of me.
All right. Anyone? Rob?
I mean, it's early 20th century, right?
Earliest 20th. Close.
I think
Late
it was like
18th, early
18,
20th.
It was like 1898 or 99.
1898.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
World War II. We all know that.
Yep.
All right. Now, what you do is you ask a girl these questions, and
Mm.
they are off by a fucking century. And you
Really?
say, all right, and you back them into it, like with the, so you get them at this. When was the Civil War? 1920?
1860s.
And then you say, all right, when was World War One? 1890s. So World War One was before the Civil War. I know. And then they ask, what degree do you have? Oh, I have a college degree. And it's just sad, but no girls know within plus or minus a decade, which you ought to generally know. Okay, World War II, 1940s, World War One, the teens. But it's a
You know what,
trope to
Aaron?
tell
You know what?
Yeah.
It's like I tell all my girls, like, you know, I don't care what kind of degree you have. I don't care if you're a boss babe. I don't give a shit about any of that. You know what I care about? Your 3 holes and whether you can cook. And you know, when you talk, this is what I hear. Wah, 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 wah. And I've said that to them. And they giggle and they laugh, and then
they're sucking your dick later.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
all that's I don't whether there's still I knew this. I don't even care. Doesn't even enter the equation.
Right, but
now,
I'm just saying,
obviously, I'm not going to marry them. Maybe if you're going to marry someone, you want them to know some kind of date that's like some intelligence there.
Here's the thing: in my experience that I've learned, because I'm really into history, there's no point. If they know, you'll know they know, because they will be talking about it. They will be talking about, if they're really into history, they will be
ask
talking
questions.
about it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even have to talk to them, like start the conversation. If they're interested in the historical period and you say you like history, or you just mention some random historical fact that you know, they'll say, "Oh, you like history?" And then they'll just start blah, 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 about their favorite historical period, which they know a lot about. But I mean,
how many women have done that to you, TJ?
Yeah, I was about to say, where are these women?
Well, back.
And they're not family members.
No, none of my family is into it. Only one member I know is into
family
history.
members. I'm like random chicks on the street, or you just met a little bit, or maybe you met them in college.
It was in college. I mean, it was mainly.
Well,
that's
different. That's
right.
domain dependent, because you're in college. I get that,
right,
but we're talking about just someone coming to your house.
But that's my point. Is that I would never ask a girl anything to do with anything intellectual that I was interested in romantically. It's
the women that see my history books, especially
I'm dating right now.
There you go. The women that see my history books and the shit that I'm reading, that just is like a turn on for them. They don't give a shit about what it is. They just like the fact that I'm jazzed about that subject matter, and I'm passionate about it. They don't give a shit. They like that I like it.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a nice little thing you can do. It's a nice little shtick. Actually, it might be a great way to shut some gal up in debate. Like, when was World War One? What? When was World War One?
Exactly.
Shut up.
shut the fuck up.
You don't even know when World War One is. Just shut the f up. I don't care.
I think what you could do is, if you do it you can get away with a lot if you're playful about it, as opposed to being serious. And I think that's the problem is with a lot of guys who hear this, they think, "Oh, I should go ask them seriously." No, you incorporate it into some sort of game where, like what you just said, where they're giving you a hard time about, "Oh, you don't believe this about this." It's like, "Oh, really? When was World War One?"
No, that's literally that is the bit. The War Dates is a bit where you go out and you just do it for fun. It's the equivalent of those TV shows where they ask random people random.
It's like Jesse Waters does the same thing. He goes up and down the, Mark Dice, Jesse Waters, they all do that shit. They'd go up and down the boardwalk and, ask people, do you know when the Revolutionary War was? And
like on my first date, I'm not
1960s.
Yeah, I'm not grabbing girls by the lapels of their shirt and bashing them up against the wall, saying, "Damn it, bitch! Tell me when World War One was."
Yeah, well, that would be kind of funny in and of itself. Yeah. But it's almost like the time, date, and place you ask a mentally ill person. There's a lot of mentally ill people walking around, so they're going to get that shit wrong. Is it Tuesday?
I can't remember ever having a conversation like that with a chick.
The only conversations you could have with the young, especially the youngins, if you're not citing, quoting, referencing The Office, you're good luck. That's at least been what I've seen. Is the Office is pretty much that, and
I'm so happy I aged out of that. I'm so
Yeah.
happy I aged out of that because that was every girl in New Jersey. If my settings were set from something like 21 to 26, every other profile would be something about The Office and dogs.
Yeah.
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 And I was
James is absolutely correct.
Killing myself because I every single day was so boring.
I have never watched The Office.
Nothing happened. It was just the most boring thing I could imagine.
I've never seen a show all the way through, just bits and pieces.
No, it sucks, but
yeah.
That girl's about 3-4 years younger than me, basically. Just aged out of it, like missed it completely.
I ask girls about Three's Company; they don't know what I'm talking about. I ask if they want to go to the Regal Beagle for a drink.
Want to go meet Jack down at the Regal Beagle?
You could just drop that. What was it, Janet and what was the other girls? Who was Suzanne?
Chrissy was the first
one. Chrissy was the blonde. Okay, yeah. Come and knock on our door. We've been waiting for you.
And then wasn't Don Knotts making an appearance every now and then? Wasn't he a landlord?
He was the landlord.
He replaced.
He was the second. He was the second landlord.
Yeah.
After
They spun off the Ropers.
That's right. Yeah. Fucking Don Knotts.
And then they got Don Knotts.
You guys ever watch the Andy Griffith Show?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. It's totally awesome.
Still the best thing out there, pretty much.
Yeah.
I can't remember hardly any of it, but I know I did.
Watch it again as an adult. It's so it gives you a break from the real world. Like the biggest problem they have is like Opie gets a C-, and then Andy gets a little C. Like, well, what's wrong? Well, gee, Paul, there's a real cute girl, Susie Jerkins. Oh, a girl, Aunt B would get. Oh my goodness, and
one bullet in your shirt pocket.
Yeah, and then does he carry her books home? Not. That's the big. Maybe Barney gets in there and acts a little crazy, but it's
Barney
that was a pleasant little vignette. That was nice.
Well, the reason Mayberry was such a pleasant time was nobody was married except for Otis, and he was drunk all the time.
Right.
Which was a coincidence, I'm sure.
Man, some of those gals Barney and Andy pulled were hot. There's some good-looking dames in that show. Come and knock on our door.
I always like the girls swimming in the water tower at Petticoat Junction.
Oh yeah, well that was the show.
Yeah.
What
tits?
It wasn't exactly for their Oscar-worthy performances.
No. But if I remember right, you got like a blonde, a redhead, and a brunette. So it was like one of every flavor.
Yeah.
So,
as is appropriate.
Yes. The spice of life.
Indeed. Homeschool. What happened to Conk? Conk's around. He was on the Masculine Geek Fortress Zoom hangout this past Saturday. He's all right.
Which I'm sorry to say I missed, but unfortunately I had other obligations.
No worries. There's always be one every month.
Yeah, which is one of the great things about being part of Masculine Geek. So
exactly. We're probably, if not both, either we're going to be bringing Jack Donovan back on on a live broadcast. We may also have him on the private Fortress hangout too. So that'll be cool.
Awesome. Both will be great. Either or will be great if both,
Yeah. I was talking with him on email. He's like, weekends are difficult because he likes to go out and do his photography and whatnot. And like, I know when it gets warm, I like to be out on my motorcycle. I don't always like to be sitting behind the computer. So we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Yep. I am really looking forward to this year for motorcycle riding.
Right.
Yeah. I already did a loop around Pahrump, Death Valley and all that. But when I get back to South Dakota, I can't. Because like this year I have no projects to do. I finished the book. I did a class. All the major projects are done. And 2022, it's summer vacation. I'm doing podcasting, answering Asshole Consult, but that's it. Like it's like
Asshole Consulting has picked up this year, hasn't it?
It's been a steady incline, yeah. Prices are now triple what they were originally. Some of that is due to inflation, of course. But if I kept prices, I wouldn't at their inflation adjusted stuff as I had it 8 years ago, I wouldn't be able to keep up with it. But plus I'm also wearing thin on some of the I'm a weak ass pussy questions.
Yeah.
Like, is there a way to, and if it's just if I smell soy on the other side, it immediately jumps into a 3-digit quote. And because these people never make the change, and I think maybe if I charge them enough, they will. Like, oh crap, this wasn't a $20 consult.
There's some like some perception of value there for them that they can appreciate. Yeah,
they're invested in some way. But,
exactly.
It's but that thankfully is only 15, 20 hours a week, maybe, depending on
that's not bad.
The volume. Yeah.
Cool. Now, do you have a set time, or is that whenever you feel like it?
No, there's so much stuff going on. I think TJ probably very familiar with this schedule where you got all these pots going and they're cooking at different speeds, and it's like, oh, I finally got 6 hours to tackle a day's worth. And then I don't know. Then I got to fly down to Florida to do a seminar or a show or whatever. So it's kind of more chaotic. But I was doing, especially with the house, we're talking 100-hour work weeks last year, which was not fun.
Well, it seems like just a couple weeks ago, there was like one day you had like 30 different podcasts that day. I mean, of varying lengths. One was an hour. Several were like 10, 15 minutes. And then another was 30 minutes. And it was like, and it was 20 or 30, it seemed like. I mean, it may not have been exactly that many, but you had something you were doing and constantly releasing new
yeah,
content.
They probably built up. Yeah. And another thing, and it just shows you it's real interesting how just one little variable can have a huge effect. The introduction of super chats, where it's like, oh, okay, you make $1 here or $2 there. This ain't going to go nowhere. Who's going to donate money? Well, that's why I'll have a very simple question that can be answered in 10 minutes, but the response takes an hour because people keep sending in super chats. And even like, you guys know Chad Elkins, when he's on the show, I make triple the amount because they just love Chad, which I've basically told Chad, dude, if you don't start a podcast, I'm going to kick you in the nuts. Yeah. But all of a sudden that the number of consults I've done has gone up slightly, but the amount of time I spend on it is now tripled easily. Because you can't leave a $10, $20 super chat every 5 minutes off the table. I mean, that's real money.
$20 is $20, man.
$20,
as the shirt says.
$20.
Now, you want to know where I got that from and modeled that from?
You made $40 walking home one night.
Yes. No, Aaron, I did not. No. Dumbass. Back about 2 or 3 years ago, Robert Frank, the Musclehead guy, he was doing one of his little skits, and the old guy he has on every once in a while, you'll see him for a minute, he'll like do the weather or something like that, and he had a T-shirt on that said something like that, and I modified it to what you see now. And I put it on your face, and I threw it in a private chat, and then Jack and TJ ran away with it. So yes,
as young boys are wont to do. Yes,
apparently they like to run away. Oh, look what I did! Look what I did!
Absolutely.
No, not really. You didn't do that.
I remember.
Speaking of the house, Aaron, are we going to get a bachelor pad economics equivalent for building your own home?
Am I going to get it?
I want to.
Oh no, because I was not the framer or anything like that. I did a lot of the carpentry work, but I didn't pour the concrete. I didn't frame or roof the house.
No, not like that. Like in the terms of like, these are the problems I had. These contractors were
like
shit.
Personal anecdotes.
Not really, because it's very simple. All contractors are middle school boys who are drunks and they do shoddy work. And what I would probably say is to general contract your own house, but also be there the entire time. And just be prepared to like have a lot of tarps to cover stuff in case it rains, but like you don't need a general contract. Also, I would say have 2 of everything, 2 electricians in case the alcoholic one doesn't show up, so you can go to the meth head addict or electrician to show up in case he's sober that day. But the best way I would say is just go around the neighborhood you are in and look around for newly built homes and ask, do you recommend this person? do you recommend this builder? And go with that builder. But what I would do is I would wait until the housing market cools down, if not preferably collapses, because a couple things will happen. One, prices will drop, so it'll be cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Two, these guys are horrible with money, and they always buy the latest truck, so they don't save during the good times. They piss it all away, so they'll be desperate, and so you have a lot of people bidding on it, and they'll show up. And three, I hope, like a repeat from the previous housing crash, that a lot of these contractors kill themselves because they're financially ruined and their wife divorces them. And so that's the other thing I kind of hope. But I would wait for a housing recession to occur. Wait, did you just put another name? What, really? You renamed me?
You did.
I didn't rename you. I just put the banner up.
No, we're hoping for one because, listen, Texas already has cheap housing compared to the nightmare that is New Jersey.
Right.
And if those prices went even lower, I would be ecstatic. Like, just putting down for a home like that, a home the size of the one that I lived in New Jersey, and just having to put 20-40 grand down on that would be.
Your property taxes are higher down there, but I would if you're looking to build a home,
not higher than New Jersey.
Well,
yeah, seriously.
Go find a good contractor in Texas or Tennessee or someplace that isn't filled with Marxist feminists who hate you. But otherwise, just become really good at carpentry, and then go find a house that is already built. Have the inspector do the inspections. Inspectors are also drunk, alcoholic, meth head contractors. They're worthless, but you have to have one. Then you go through yourself and you look for everything that's possibly. I mean, even checking nuts and bolts.
That may be a South Dakota thing, because most of the people I've dealt with so far have not been. I mean, some of them were better than others, but they weren't, stumbling over themselves. I wonder if that's a South Dakota thing.
Contractors are the same everywhere. They are all looking for some way to shave off 25% of their work.
Right.
Immediately after having told you, clearly the last guy who worked on this was left everything incomplete.
Yeah.
They will give you that spiel and immediately think, I could shave off 20 minutes today if I just cross these two wires and hope nothing explodes.
And so let's put it this way. Especially if you're younger and you're not making big coin, it is worth your time to learn these trades on your own to kind of do them yourself. And that can range everything from roofing, like the big stuff like pouring concrete. You need the equipment to do that. All right. Framing, you probably just have framers come in, and framing, it's kind of hard to botch up that job. Sheetrocking and mudding and taping, let those guys in there and do their thing. But when
I do know how to do that. I did that for the house that we built in New Jersey.
Right. Okay. There you go.
11 or something.
But my bigger kick, and I talk about this, my upcoming book called The Menu, I'm talking about the Bachelor Hut, and Vince has read about this. I think the future, especially for men, because we're not going to be starting families, you're going to be single. They have these things called tough sheds and other pre-made sheds that you can have converted into a home. Now, it depends on the ordinance and the rules and laws of the city. But if you were to just buy a piece of land, run some utilities out to it, and you just get this, it's basically a 1-bedroom house installed and built. It's 16 grand. So then you have to have a plumber and electrician come in and wire the whole thing. But otherwise you got it. You got a basically a 1-bedroom house. And I think that actually would be the future, because you don't need no big ass house. No, you don't need, and even my house isn't that big, but I would just, try to keep the contractors out as much as possible by finding a house that already exists, or you find a contractor that has a great reputation and people swear by him. But and otherwise, people love them. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Oh, it's funny you mentioned that too. I took a road trip back to New Jersey, starting on the 4th or something like that. I can't remember when it was. It no, I left on like the 9th or whatever.
It was like mid-March.
Yeah, it was early to mid-March. I left for New Jersey and went out to see my mom and one of my sisters. And it was amazing coming back, just commenting. It's like, Jesus, this house it's a big house. Vince has been to my house. TJ's been to my house. Man, it is so empty.
Yeah.
It's big, but it's like, it just kind of, you could hear the echo of your own breath in there. And it's eerie how like not lived in and just not like it almost, it feels abandoned. Any given room that does not actively have a person in it feels abandoned.
Yeah,
feels like you're walking through an abandoned home. And then I got back, and I spent that night. I think I spent that night at the Tomboys as well. And she was like, "Well, which one do you like better, this apartment or your mom's house?" I was like, "Well, this one. It's tiny, but it's lived in. Everything that you need is here, and it doesn't feel like you're trespassing.
It's yours.
Walking into it, yeah.
Yours.
So you can get away with, and which dovetails into the one-man sheds and stuff like that, or small pre-built trailers that you get, container homes, shit like that." They probably are the future, because you could buy the property, have the low cost of, you don't have to worry about spending all your time cleaning.
All for under $100,000.
Yeah, you just get the lot, you put the shed on it, and then you live there. And if you change your mind later,
you lift it up and live with it.
House your buddy there, then you can do it.
I'm also thinking it's the only way young men and young women, but let's just admit it, women aren't going to live in a one-bedroom house. That's about the only way young men can get into housing and real estate right now. And I'm really, I hate to say I'm proud of TJ, but I'll say it. TJ is like the last young person I know to wisely buy a house early on, so they had a toehold in the real estate market. And then as his property increased in value, now TJ will more or less never be homeless. But these guys who, if you're Gen Z, you're 21 and you're looking at homes starting at 400,000. There's no other way but you go buy a piece of land, put a bachelor hut on it and live in it. And, it'll definitely keep the gold diggers away, but over time that'll help you get exposed to real estate. I think only smart men are going to do it. And maybe there's a smart girl that will do it too, but I'm afraid they're just not gonna. They're gonna insist. They could fill their clothes in the hut. They're not gonna
in the hut.
Yeah,
if you set that structure on like some fucking railroad ties or some shit. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, because I just moved into my house, and combined with the basement, it's 3,200 square feet. The basement is huge. It's got the garage and all that cool stuff in the upstairs. And I'm a one-man show, so it's a big house for me. And that's where I've been thinking about long-term. If I ended up being the Bachelor, I'm going to end up being like Bruce Wayne in Wayne Manor when he's in his 70s, like this huge house. And, what do you do? So I actually have blueprints for an A-frame house that my grandparents were going to build years ago. They never got around to it, but I have the blueprints, and I kind of like the design of the house. So at some point, if I wanted to downgrade, I'll just sell off this thing for a chunk of change, and then either have someone build it, or I'm going to just figure out, because I'm going to make that decision well in advance. Like we're talking 10 years in advance of, do I want to move out here? And you got to figure out, like, you want to be out there, but not too far away from civilization. You want to also have, most importantly, you don't want to move from a house that has resale value to one that has no resale value, because that's what a lot of guys I've seen have done. They move out to the middle of nowhere to get away from everything, but they're so removed from like just basic government services and resources and everything that they want to move. But the problem is nobody wants to buy their property because it's very eclectic. It was built custom for them. So for guys, and that's the nice thing about the Tough Shed thing is you can, especially if you acquire the property, I'd say that just getting yourself a hold of property of some kind, but it really depends on what state you're in. I mean, some guys, if you're looking to just own property, Kansas City's, last time I checked last year, was pretty good. New Hampshire's prices are getting up there pretty quickly. So, people want to jump on that. But yeah, if you got some money saved up, or if you make don't make a lot of money, depending on what county you're in, you have financing options that other people don't. So
well,
at the very least, doesn't hurt to talk to a mortgage lender and just say, hey, here's how much I make, here's how much I have in the bank. What financing options can I have? Because in some cases, you're basically like a vet. You can a VA. You can get a VA loan of 0%.
Yeah.
None of that stuff is new though. People have been doing it for decades. They're called double wide trailers, and they've been doing that for decades.
Double
down
wide
here,
trailers.
Buying
The hard
buying
yeet
5
twang
acres.
is incoming.
That's right, buying 5 acres. Well, here's the thing: in a Category 5 tornado, it doesn't matter whether it's a trailer or a tow shed.
That's true.
It's going airborne.
That is
Well,
very,
look,
very true.
Better Batcher kind of had a good idea until he bought a used bus, but
Used
just
bus.
getting a trailer or Cynic in Chief, he does van life where you buy the property and you just live in your van or your trailer or your bus or whatever you want in the meantime until you have the money to
Must
actually
be a pain
build
in
it.
the ass, like swapping out the cesspool and shit.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, what do you want to pay HOA fees?
Oh, cousin Eddie.
Merry Christmas. Shitter's full.
Well, I mean, one thing that guys have been doing down here for years is, if they were smarter at the smarter end of the pool, they would graduate high school. They would work for a couple of years or join the military or whatever. They'd save up some money. They'd buy a chunk of land out in the woods. They'd put a trailer on it, and it's someplace where they could hunt and fish and shit. And then when they got older and they had money, and they either, some of them would build an actual stick house on the property, or they'd buy a house somewhere else and keep the property with the trailer out there for them to go out on the weekends and hunt and shit, and do whatever. So that's been going on for a while, and I think that you're right. I think that people are going to sort of rediscover that model, because the current model, especially
now it's their last fucking hope.
With houses
It's
inflated.
not working.
Real
It's not
estate.
working right now, the current model.
Right. Well, I mean, for somebody like, for an old fuck like me, I've got my money, I've got my house, I've got all that shit. So I don't, it doesn't affect me much. But, dudes who are 20 and coming up now, that's probably going to be their most viable option, unless they get into something where they make a lot of money.
The irony and what I'd love to see happen is, let's say you're a young man, you're ahead of the curve, you're 22, you've been working out of high school, you saved up the money, you buy your land, and you build your bachelor hut or your trailer. Not one girl is going to look at you. I mean, they're going to be repulsed by you. You're like, what's this bachelor hut? You took a tough shed on the ground. Oh, he's a weirdo. He lives out there in the thing and the sticks and the stuff. But then by the time you're 35, like, you got $500,000 in equity. You're way financially ahead of everyone else. And I would just keep the bachelor hut and make it like not let anyone know. Like, oh yeah, I'm just poor.
It's
Poor
like
as dirt.
your secret hideaway.
What's going
Yeah.
on?
No, it's a lot
The only
more.
problem there is the idea that you could buy any property working out of high school.
That's definitely a
doesn't
lot
happen
more.
anymore. Sorry, guys.
It's a lot more fiscally sound than buying a house for the woman that has your kids and then giving it to her and the kids, and then buying another house for the next woman that has your kids and
Right.
giving it to them. And
It's and the number of people who have done that just blows my mind. I can look at half of my friends that I've had for 30, 40 years, and half of them have done exactly that. It's insane.
I'm no financial advisor or economist, but men should stop giving women free houses. That might improve your finances a little bit, but if you stop giving women free houses, your finances will improve.
Yep.
Well,
There
true.
is that.
who gives
There is
women
that.
free, other than guys who are getting, run through the divorce ringer? Does that
Section
actually
8,
happen?
housing and urban
Well, there's our
development.
population.
Oh, gosh.
There's everybody.
Yeah, men with penises and sex drives.
Mhm.
It literally does end up like, well, here's a house.
Well, it leaves
Yeah.
you out, Aaron.
Oh,
Mm.
that's funny. That's funny.
Ah. All right, we got nothing.
All right, I'm gonna take off. I'm gonna go play a video game.
Oh yeah.
What are you going to play?
I'm gonna play. I bought a bunch of old games. This one's called Crackdown.
Okay.
It came out in 2009 because all the new games require updates and downloads and patches. And this is on consoles, mind you. And so I went to the used video game store and I dropped, I'm not joking, like $25 and got 6 games.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I have a strategy of like, even back then, it's like, well, you can't play the campaign. Why? Well, you can't, you're not hooked up to the internet. I don't want to be hooked up to the internet. Well, you can't play the campaign unless you're hooked up to the internet. Throw that one away.
Fuck that. I'm doing solo.
But 1 and 3 are playable, and this Crackdown is awesome. I mean, it really is a good game. So I've been very much enjoying that. And it turns out the sequel is even better, according to people. I've actually been doing video game and anime reviews on my channel because I can now. I have the free time.
That's cool.
Yeah, get my geek back on now that I have free time.
Yeah, I saw you were doing one on One Punch Man.
One Punch Man, very good. Very good anime. Too short-lived.
Before you head out, what are your current rates for asshole consulting?
It's like 45 for a video, 40 for an email. That's if you get to the point. No, and you're not a veteran, none of that. Sometimes I get really easy questions like, oh, that's $25. I can handle that. If it's more complicated and complex, it just proportionately increases with the amount of time I think I got to read and answer it. But where people really could save a lot of money is not asking me stupid pussy soy boy questions. Like if you go back, there's one guy who is just, I don't think he was trolling either, but he was just the biggest loser. And this woman hates him and he just can't give up the pussy. And he's like trying to find a way. Well, how do I get her to like me and not, come here and ruin my, like, she's a single mom from a foreign country. And I'm like, okay, that's $150. Fuck you. Because I'm sick and tired of.
I'm about to save you some money.
Okay. Yeah.
Step one, slap her and piss on her face.
Well, not even that. Just these people are not going to change. And since it's like looking into the abyss after a while. I understand why therapists now kind of need therapists. Because there is so many stupid people ruining their lives and other people's lives, and they come to you to solve it. And it's not like an intellectually stimulating question either. It's like the bitch hates you, she's going after your money. But pussy. I'm like, look, I know you're a weakling and you're a sad sack of shit. And you don't want to go to the gym, and you don't want to actually become so you could actually and you're even with probably the number one problem. These men have nothing else in their lives. They're too lazy to go and develop hobbies. People will joke at Rob for having all the anime and comic books and things and all that. At least that's something. Like he has something in his life. Yeah. TJ has his collections of World War II memorabilia and things like that. We have our podcasts and our books. There's so many guys out there who have nothing because they're too lazy to go do something. If it's picking up bowling and they want to use a woman to like, oh, if I get my penis touched, then I'll be happy. And it's like, no, fuck you. Like if you come up to me and like looking for the easy way out, it's like that's 150 minimum, and it goes up from there. And sometimes they pay it because they're usually living at home off the government, and they got the money. They don't know what a value of $1 is. So
I think what's amazing is how many people's problems are internal rather than external. I've encountered a lot of challenges in my life that were external. That just there's nothing you have no control over it. You can only control how you respond. But I've just over the years I've encountered people where the only thing getting in their way is them.
Yeah, a lot of people get in their own way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's anyone on this panel that hasn't had external problems. I mean, and that's just the ones we know about.
Vince is a friend. I couldn't control that. It's an external problem. Fucking dick showed up in my life like crap. He's here.
But
some of these guys have serious internal ones as well.
Yeah, but I mean, James has talked about stuff about his home life. Vince has talked about stuff about his home life. And that's just the stuff we've talked about publicly. So, and that was all external stuff, and it was just how we chose to deal with it.
Yeah, that's key is choosing how to deal with it.
Right. The farther you go along and the more experience you have, the more you start realizing that almost every problem is just you. It's almost always just you. There are those exceptions where something truly, black swan happens in your life, but most of the time it's just you.
Well, if for any other reason it may not even
should be so lucky.
It's not even, and here's the thing, it may not even be your fault, but the responsibility falls upon you to fix it. And that's why I just get so fucking sick and tired of these assholes coming up because they're weak men. Well, how do I do it without working hard? And that's ultimately that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're like,
that's exactly it.
Jesus,
it's like,
I want
how
the
do
magic pill.
Yeah,
Give
Aaron,
me the
I
magic
need,
pill.
Yeah, I need to lose 30 pounds of fat, put on at least 20 pounds of muscle, have a better job, and more money coming in, and get
And I
laid
need it
more
yesterday, and I don't want to work for it.
Fix this for me.
Right.
You know
And
what's kinda
it's like
crazy?
it's not for you to fix. It's like what did you just say? You needed to lose how much fat? You needed to put how much muscle? Well, how do you lose fat? Well, you do something
Stop
about your
fucking
caloric
eating.
intake and what you
Right.
eat. How do you
Well,
put
they're-
on muscle? You do things to challenge your body to force it to grow stronger. How do you get laid more often? Well, there's like a million different ways that can happen. I mean, it's not even that difficult when you really get down to brass tacks. You know, depending on what you can get
Are
laid
you
by.
willing to walk outside your house?
Yeah, yeah. Are you willing to walk outside your house? And what are you? And what is too fat, too ugly, too stupid, too whatever to say yes or no to? And how do you make more money? Well, do things that make money. Work.
That last
in
one is what
different-
I'm probably going to hit up Cappy for, because
Yeah.
the money-making opportunities are not right in front of my face. So I'm just going to hit up people who, like, I didn't know what mediators did before talking to Vince. I had no idea that profession existed.
No, it's just
So
it's
just
getting
older
to the
guys
point-
like you might know of jobs that match the skill set.
See, but there's a logic there. You're older and have the wisdom. What do you see that I don't? Because it indicates that if I recommend you do something, you're probably going to go and do it. What
Yeah.
there's a fortune to be made claiming that you have the answer to get the girls or to lose the weight or whatever it is when it's very obvious in front of you, as long as it takes no effort. But
Yeah.
more commonly, it's I got a problem. It requires me to do something difficult, whether that's hurt people's feelings or go to the gym or study hard. Is there a way around it? And I just want to punch them right in the fucking face because they're weaklings and cowards. It's like, fuck you. You know the goddamn answer. And so if you want me to tell you again what the fucking answer is, which we all know is correct, it'll be $150. And so, you know, I'd like to get more intellectual, interesting ones. And every once in a while I get them. Sometimes thankfully I get people that'll pay me. They'll give me $35 for a Clary original. So I get to talk about what I want. But a lot of these are just fucking used tampons. Oh, I got blood all over me. What do I do? Squeeze yourself out, you piece of shit. And that's kind of an asshole concern. But all right, that's enough for me. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm gonna go play video games. All right.
Enjoy.
Cap.
Thanks, Aaron. That son of a bitch. Anyway, all right. We're gonna actually wrap up. I wanted to keep this around the hour and a half mark anyway. Well, under 2 hours.
I'll
Did
do
you
a
have something to say, TJ?
Yeah, it's a quick geek and tell.
Oh, cool. Always good for those.
So before they did the Shenandoah Park National Park, there was like 400 and something people living there in the area, and so this person went and interviewed them.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah,
Let me
I thought it was funny.
hold it up again. I'll solo lay out you. Yep. That's a cool area to visit.
Yeah, it's iconic that they have the old lady with the pipe and mouth on the cover. Just pay me when you see me again, Jonesy Wales.
Right. Yeah. I've camped out there numerous times. Big meadows.
I don't know how geeky this is, but this just arrived. It's a box set of the band Asia. It's from the original lineup from 1982 and 1983 with several concerts, and then from the band getting back together with the original lineup in like 2007 and 2008 up until John Ledden, the bass guitarist and lead vocalist for the band, passed away. But it's like several different concerts, so from the 80s to present. So that's the latest music thing I've gotten.
You know how I know you're gay? You framed an Asia poster. That's from 40-Year-Old Virgin. That's
okay.
not. Personal.
That's not.
Actually,
That's something you would say. That's something you would say, though.
Yeah, I don't have an Asia poster
What's up, Luke?
framed, but I do have one that's framed only because it's autographed by all 4 original members of the band. But I think that one was like an advertisement for one of the albums, the album art. But Roger Dean, the artist that did their album covers, is an amazing artist. And
it's the same artist that did some of the Yes covers too.
Yeah, he did some of the Yes covers, and a lot of other different bands. So I mean, he does that kind of unique, stylized science fiction, fantasy artwork. That's I think it's really cool, and it definitely fit with the band. Especially considering the prog origins of the band. So that's the latest music thing I got, other than a couple of Dr. Demento radio shows from like 1984.
Nice.
Which are on vinyl, because that's how the radio show, when it was syndicated in the 2000s, I think maybe starting in like the late 90s, came on disc to the radio stations, but prior to that they came on vinyl, although I think some radio stations may have gotten them in the early 70s on like reel to reel, but because I know there are some collectors that have reel to reels of the show, but I don't know that those were the original recordings, or they were just recorded by guys who had really cool hi-fi stereo systems back in the day. But those I've got, and then I've got a few Casey Kasem American Top 40 shows from the 70s and 80s. But the Dr. Dementos I got more recently, and then the Asia just came today. So,
nice. Shout out to Luke, if you're still on.
Oh, cool.
So I love New Jersey history. I love pirates and privateers, and the New Jersey coast has a long, storied history of privateers over here. And the best part about this is, and what I like to do with a lot of these things, whether I'm writing or reading, because of where I live, I can visit these places. I can read about them and then go visit them where they happened. So that's even better. So the shout out to you, Luke. That's what this is. And we laugh. It's a bit of a recent inside joke, because I posted this up, a page of this, and the book a little while ago, but up on Instagram. And in the tagline, I say the title. So Luke drops in the message. He's like, "Oh, what's the book title?" You guys are fucking killing me. I already said it. It's right there.
So you'd be selling the high seas of Counter Earth if you were on Gore. Is that what you're saying, Vince?
Absolutely. And my figurehead would be a naked woman.
Yeah.
Swap them out in every port. I'm waiting to hear back from John Norman. So hopefully this week or next week.
That would be great.
Yeah. Anyway, is
Even
there
if you
anyone
have to
else?
do it pre-recorded.
Even if I have to do it pre-recorded, even if he wants to do it via email, I have no problem with that. What I'll do is I would have everybody ask 2 or 3 questions, and we'd send them like maybe 20.
Yeah.
I think that would be doable for him.
Yeah.
And then we would just post it, and also maybe have James read it, throw him some money and have him read it.
Okay.
So I think that would be cool. So one way, shape, or form, as long as that man is alive and amenable to it, we'll get him on here somehow.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Exactly. Does anyone else have anything else to show, or any questions from the chat?
I have approximately 200 wooden nickels.
That's fucking fantastic. So you'll never run out. I love it. That's awesome.
I was waiting for James to say what's his favorite Misfits lineup.
Don't ask me that. I'll get myself in trouble.
Yeah, seriously.
How would you get yourself in trouble for that?
I have no idea. I know somebody.
But it would happen.
It
would happen. It would happen. Somebody would be listening.
Exactly.
Famous Monsters is a great Misfits
Jerry
album.
His face would
Jerry Only.
Break down my Jerry Only would break down my door.
Break down your door and kick your ass. All right, Nick, next. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate seeing you. Even though you're on vacation.
What? Is it starting yet?
Like, boy, it's like you just woke up. What? Who? What?
What?
Where,
Well, it's past his bedtime. He's
you're
old.
like,
you know.
what's his face from Waterboy? Where am I? What's my name?
Speaking of Waterboy, did he get sex in the pool yet or not? Did that happen, Nick? Did you get her to go for it?
Sadly, so far the temps have just been a little bit too cool to even get in the pool. So,
Jesus, you're gonna get some nips at attention.
well, there are some other things that have gone on. I may talk about someday in private, but never in public. So.
Okay.
Other than that,
the Misfits were from New Jersey.
I'm sorry, what?
So I didn't know the Misfits were from New Jersey. I was just speaking loud.
Oh, okay. Stop.
How did you not know that?
I didn't.
He does now.
That's the easy part. I simply didn't.
Yeah. Famous Monster is probably my favorite album by the Misfits. Even though that's not Danzig era album. I like it. I like the songwriting Michael brought to the band. So
that's funny. I got introduced to them only because when I was in high school, Edgy Teen joined a fucking love Black Veil Brides. That was like high school edgy. They just inject that straight into my veins. And they sang on stage with Jerry only.
Right.
And that's when I got introduced to that band and that lineup.
Oh, okay.
All I got to say to you wise asses in the chat is that anybody who aspires to greatness could do a lot worse than selling propane and propane accessories.
Someone screenshot that. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. This has been a fun one. Thank you for Aaron. We give Aaron a bunch of shit, but Aaron's a good friend, and thank you for Aaron for shouting this out on Twitter because I'm on a Twitter lockdown until Monday. Like I said, apparently I'm in Twitter jail. Apparently, I can view tweets.
Somehow my fault too.
I know, right? I was responding to something you said in jest, and what did I say? I called you guys redneck mongoloids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And apparently, Twitter does not like that.
As a redneck mongoloid, I have no problem with that.
Right? I think there should be an appeal process.
Well, especially if the
person
target of your venom doesn't
offended.
complain about it, it's like Twitter shouldn't friggin' care.
Yeah, exactly. It's like calling somebody something and they're like, "Oh, you can't call them that. It's hateful." Well, they are that.
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Kind of like Twitter is a cunt, you know.
Like, how dare you, tall people? Like, and then you get banned. Well, it's not hateful because they're tall. Anyway, reality is now clown world, and clown world is reality. What's up is down, and down is up. All right. Once again, thank you everyone who has joined us in the chat, who has been with us for this long, and anyone who watches later on. We appreciate your time and your attention and hanging out with you all. And as always, TJ, take us out.
Roy Lyman. Just kidding. Keep the fires burning. Keep the wine flowing. Keep the lead shooting down range. Don't take any nickels. Don't drink all the rum. And don't say gay.
And $20 is $20.
That's right. I'm proud of that one. All right, you fuckers.
Good night,
Good night. We'll be talking to you later.